Yeah. And our second discussant is Jim Sumberg, who is an agriculturalist by training, but a very broadly based agriculturalist with widespread experience inside of research centres, inside of academia, inside of the New Economics Foundation, and is currently a research fellow at IDS Sussex. Jim.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. Well, Gordon, you didn't make the job of discussant any easier because you didn't say much that I could or would want to disagree with. So I would like to make, I think, one basic comment. You posed the question, should it be what technology or should it be which technology? And then you went on to talk about some different categories of technology. Nothing much to disagree with there. But I think the conclusion is very clear to me that whether it's which technology or what technology, we're going to need many different kinds, all bits and pieces from all those categories, depending on where we are and which people are involved. So those are very broad whats and whiches, and there's lots of multiple answers there. For me, in a way, the more interesting question is the one you purposely didn't ask, and that would, we might say, is, well, where is that innovation going to come from? And of course, those of you who have followed this discussion over the years will know that we go back 30 or 40 years now, we can see a whole trail of programs and movements and investment in farming systems research and participatory research, and well, you can name them all through. And of course, like so many things, lots of interest, lots of activity, lots of investment, and then a bit of disappointment, and it trails off and we're on to the next big thing. And you'll also probably know that in the last 8 or 10 years, of course, the next new thing has been the idea of innovation systems. That has, everybody's now talking about innovation systems in agriculture. And that's somehow going to open the door and let us do all the things we haven't been able to do successfully in the past. I had the opportunity 2 weeks ago to spend 3 days at Montpellier, where there was a conference, big international conference on innovation in agriculture. And really, innovation systems was on everybody's tongue. And it was quite interesting because one saw the very same dynamic that we've seen with farming systems research and with participatory research, where what started off as very complex, very subtle ideas, concepts, quickly became turned into very simplistic, rote training manuals. And then, of course, they lose all the power. Once they're turned into such simple recipes of how to go do farming systems research in 3 or 4 easy steps without any real insight into what's going on, or how to do participatory research and so on, of course, we're set for disappointment. And we can now see exactly the same dynamic in relation to innovation systems. So I'll give you just a couple of examples. So in the people that have thought about innovation systems for years and years outside agriculture, concepts such as an innovation broker or a platform, those are kind of key concepts. And they've been floating around for a long time and as useful ideas to try to understand the process of innovation. What's interesting is that what we've done in agriculture is in a couple of years we've turned those concepts into terms of reference. And we now have projects where people are being hired with the title of innovation broker or a platform leader. And I would say it's almost guaranteed, or indeed it is guaranteed, that we're going to do this for a few years, find that it doesn't work, forget innovation systems, and move on to the next thing. And I think I conclude there's something almost pathological about our need to take what are, at heart, valuable, important ideas, concepts, ways of looking at the world, and turning those into the most simplistic things so we can go out and do development with them. And the result being that, well, great disappointment. I just make one last comment. Gordon, you mentioned about the barriers, different barriers of why developing country farmers didn't respond. And of course, one of the questions there is how important is the technology, or how important is the lack of innovation? Is that really a barrier? I just want to mention that some years ago we did some research that tried to draw from ideas in the private sector about new product development. So nothing to do with agriculture, but how industry thought about new product development and the kinds of processes they went through, design, specification, and thinking about what the product was going to look like, who the eventual users would be, what kinds of specifications that product would have to meet in order to find a place in the market, and so on. And it seemed to me that there was quite a strong case that those kinds of ideas and those kinds of approaches could be extremely useful in our thinking about agricultural research and agricultural innovation. Whereas we tend to just think about, well, it's going to be a striga-resistant maize variety, or very, very simple, the most basic, superficial kind of specification for what that technology might do or what it might look like. But in fact, you know, that Christy's talked about the private sector. One of the things we can do, I think, is learn a lot about how they go about choosing what areas to invest in, how they go about bringing people together to work on innovations. And when those are done, people are scattered about and they work on other things. And of course, the other really interesting part of that story is the private sector in new product development knows very well that many, many, many things fail. That's part of the story of new product development. And we have to accept that as part of agricultural innovation, agricultural research. And if we don't, and if we feel the donors are and the funders are breathing down our neck every time to why, you know, where is the success story, and we don't accept failure, that makes it for a very, very difficult situation. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim.